Hello guys and welcome back in another video of one of my oldest creations. This forest was one of the oldest forests that I put together almost 8 years ago when bare root season was just kicking in. But I will show you the development of this forest. Let's get to it. So our journey started with this forest back in last year, 2024. When I started to document its development. It was kept in this grow box since 2022, but it was time for its first wiring. Today I will not get into details about how I wire forests. I will keep it for another day, but I just wanted to get spacing between the branches and set a nice dome-shaped silhouette of the crown. When I finished, the forest was kept in a glass house for the whole winter, and this year, end of February, was taken for its first repot. Beech tree is considered a high water mobility tree, so till now it was kept in soil which had a ratio of 80% organic and 20% of inorganic soil. I will cut off all the overgrown roots so it can fit into the container. Guys, I will not take out all the organic soil and replace it with proper bonsai soil just yet. I want to get some more vigor into the trees before it will get its own proper pot next year. But it's 1st of June now, so started in last November, was repotted in this March. And as you see, it pushed out really well already. So I'm going to check if the wire started to bite in, because usually that time of the year, I usually dewire my trees around like 2nd or 1st week of May. It really depends on whether it was repotted or not, how it's responding to repotting, how it's responding to the last year's styling. Most of my trees are already dewired. And then I just wanted to check on with this forest and do some maintenance, probably even shape it a bit back. And as you see, I decided to pot up this forest in a bit bigger container. What we usually use for forest should be a bit more shallow container as well. Why I did this is basically, this is the big pot what I had and it was cracked. So if you see at the back, I tried my best, but that was the first attempt of doing some kintsugi, which I failed, obviously. But I decided after that I will use this pot anyway, because the front of it is really nice. It's deeper than it should be for a forest, but I wanted to thicken up a bit more the trunk as a get more mature looking of the trees as well. So as you see, it's ready to be dewired. So by my opinion, it's just in the perfect timing to taking off the wire. It started to slightly bite in, which means that the branch will hold the shape what we wired into. Like this weather really, at least in my head, it's a ideal situation to grow bonsai trees. I mean, for 5 minutes it's like sunny and beautiful, and then another 5 minutes the sky will crack up and get a lashing rain. I'd rather have this than, as I mentioned, that I'm from Hungary, and in the last few years in summer season he got there like 2-3 months of drought, which could be really, really challenging when you have 35 and 40 degrees Celsius for 3 and 4 weeks and continuously without a drop of rain. So yeah, a lot of people said that the Irish weather could be nicer. Well, I like it this way. You like the weather by Flo, Keith? Yeah. Yeah. So after 2 million hours of dewiring, I'll just take off the weeds. And one more thing worth to mention, that guys, you see the forest is tall and huge, quote unquote. What I mean, it's basically most of you would just like drastically, you know, push it back to growth for aiming for much more ramification. I'll show you something else. If you see this other beech forest, this is how I style almost 99% of my other forests. And sometimes I just want to have something different. Maybe we'll go back to the other forest, I will tell you what. But then, while this is up in here, let's prune it back a bit. This was planted a few years ago as well, and it's started to mature in this pot. Might change this pot next year and getting something more better looking than mass-produced Chinese pots, but this is what I have back then. So the golden rule, it's basically what I will just do. I'm not really recommending to shape and just go around and just do roughly, because you can cut into the leaves. That's not going to be that nice looking. What I would do is basically just chop it back everything to 2 pair of leaves. Because as you see, let me show you actually that. Hope that you can see it. So instead of, I would tell you to cut back to 2 pair of leaves, I'd rather say to cut back to 2 pair of buds. Really depends on what you want to accomplish with this branch. So you see, we have our first leaf, but this is a budless leaf. This is your first bud. I would love to have another bud in here, so the internode will be really, really short, which will be perfect for us. This internode is a bit more longer, what you would like to have. So in this situation, I will cut back 2 pair of leaf, only 1 bud. So you see, this one, I let it grow much more to the outer space, and the branches are much more lanky, if you would wish to use that term. But with this forest, I want to do something much more feminine looking, much more delicate, much more elongated looking. Just kind of like the top of or the canopy of the tree is like kind of dancing towards to the sky. So as you see in here, so we let all this length grown up in here, but then now, because I don't really want to let it grow more, then we can go back and check for the first 2 buds and then just cut them back that way. So we'll leave it for now. Let's see what it will produce this year. Give it a bit of water. Till next time. Morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. We are back to this beech forest. They developed a lot during all these years. Today is the 21st of October, and as you see, the tree, it's taken up all this beautiful color. You can just leave it as it is and enjoy the colors on the tree. I decided to work on it again, just aiming for a bit more ramification if we can. As you see, let's say 70% of the tree already turned its leaves, which mean it absorbed all the energy from the leaves, put back magnesium, iron, zinc, all the minerals, sugars and starches back to the vascular tissue, what the tree will need for be able to survive winter. We will see the overall silhouette when I will defoliate this tree fully, but it might will go to a nicer pot, quote unquote, next March. We'll see. You have plenty of time to make your, decisions. These European beech trees are really accessible up in here in Ireland. That means when it comes to bare root season, these trees individually would cost you, well, from few euros up to 10, 15 max each. So if you have a wooden box and then you buy, let's say 11, 13, 15 of them, let's just stay with odd numbers, you could create these forests for very cheap price, and then obviously you can just train them for years. So guys, there's another good example of when you're planting forests from a bare root season material. So for this forest I selected a bit more matured trees last year when I put it together, and then you see the nice difference between what we are working on right now. I just wanted to show you that what other options you could have and would have. I will just leave it now as it is, and we will come back to it very soon to be looking very nice forests. I mentioned before, one of the downside of beeches up in here, they tend to suffer from aphids a lot, and I don't really like to spray a lot in here in the garden. So if you consider it as a tip or not, I might go for European hornbeams from next year. I have a few of them as well, but as individual trees put into the ground to taking up their trunks. But they tend to withstand the aphids much more. I haven't even seen major infestation on the European hornbeams this year at all. So I tried soapy water, all the natural alternatives didn't really work. Well, at least it did for a day, and then the aphid just came back the next day. If you don't mind and you have the same issue, let me know in the comments what you guys are using to prevent these pests. As we have nice trees putting into the ground, so we have a lot of bees, birds. I've even seen a hedgehog the other day. I would avoid spraying at all if I can. Beeches, hornbeams, a few oaks, And few other species tend to keep their old leaves on the branch throughout the whole dormant season. There are a good few, well, I'm not even saying explanation, but us who are trying to explain why is that happening on a tree. One of these theories will keep off the deers chewing on the new buds. If you in a rush, hope you're not, because obviously we are taking care of our trees and I like to spend a lot of time with them. But if you're in a rush, you could just, coming back and prune it back to the silhouette or the shape. I would never really recommend that, because you don't really know what you cut and where, and the outcome next season could be different as you would hope for. So take my time, take up the leaves one by one, wire it out. This tree will be wired third, fourth time. It's almost there, but as you see more the detailed silhouette as more leaves are coming off. So this is one of our options. This pot, it's much more shallow than the other one, so that will suit better with the composition, and it will still give a lot of space for the roots to grow. You even see it better than I do, as the pot itself has this rusted design which will suit really well to this composition. I ordered a few other pots, so we might change our minds, but this is my best bet for this tree right now. Let's continue to work on it. So, after defoliation, we see much better the silhouette of the tree and the branch structure. As we could keep it as it is. Might just push it back a tiny bit more, but I would like to wire out the primary and the secondary structure of the branches. Might be for the last time, and then from next year we're just going to prune it without doing any major wiring on this tree ever again. Let me wire out what I would like to wire out and see from there. So I just want to put few branches in position and which are really out of shape. With these delicate branches I will only use 1.5, 2 and then 3mm wire, aluminium wire if necessary, the 3mm. So the Latin name Fagus sylvatica, it's not a native tree in Ireland, although it's here for a long time. But it is native throughout Europe. There are huge forests in Hungary as well. So when it comes to propagation, beeches grow really nicely from seed. They have huge seeds, and you can start to collect them right now. They tend to grow nice from air layering as well. I tried a few times, although as I said, the berry season cannot be, beaten, because the price of these trees, it's really low. Thank gods. So the magic board. So this fits. First this can slightly come towards to you. This can come slightly go at the back, so these two will not going to shade out themselves. You see these branches, so that they come to the front, which is not ideal, so I need to put this up back in here so you fill out the crown. This branch is going inwards, so I might change that direction as well. And as you see, it's a bit more negative space on the left side of the forest than on the right side. So just this gap here. Okay, so I'll get this branch, get it back and fill it out, that space. Right. If you don't really have time to work on your trees this time of the year, I'm talking fall or autumn period, you could come back and do this in spring, just before the leaves start to shoot out, that you'll still see your trees' silhouettes, and much easier to make your decisions and way easier to wire them without leaves. I'm not saying it's not possible to do them when they're in full leaves. Few of my trees I needed to wire around June and July, so it's not possible, but this way it's much easier for sure. So I tend to fill this part in here, and then everything is coming outwards slightly, just slightly, because this unevenness I like on the tree. You cannot just put like a perfect, dome shape and you could, just cover the whole tree. So I'll just take off a tiny bit from the top, as I like it that way. And as you mentioned, I don't really want to overwork this tree. I think they're overlapping each other. Guys, I will finish up with this tree as you see it right now. What you could do differently, a lot of things you could do differently. If you don't like this slender style, you could chop it back way more drastically if you wish for. For me, it's just a different interpretation of forest design and how each and every forest could look differently to another. I usually do my repots when spring will start, but in this case I will show you how the roots are looking, and then that could be a nice indicator of, am I willing to repot this tree to that nice pot what I just showed you earlier on, or leave it for another year. There's still a lot of root growth happening this time of the year, and it's getting slightly popped down. Let's see how the bottom looks still in here, although there's a lot of space that the roots could occupy as well, so you will go back to that pot for the rest of the season. But overall, it's a really nice root structure. So I might repot it next year. Guys, thank you so much for staying with me this long. It's always fun when I can show you my trees in the developments, and hopefully I can be more consistent with the videos. As I said, I have a lot in the pipeline, so we will hop on a lot of bonsai and tree journey. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is the result what you can achieve in 8 years. For the last shot, I'm just going to show you how this forest started. It started as a stick, a really, really tiny stick. And I'm so happy to see this forest taking shape after 8 long years. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I wish you all a lovely fall and autumn. A lot of fun with your trees. See you very soon.